So my name is Bob Dolan. I'm career advisor for the postdocs here at MIT. So one of the best things you could do is network. And networking really is more than just creating relationships that you have immediately around you, but also your network's network. They have people that they know. Again, the alumni database. Um, Very, very important. Research will show that more than 70% of all jobs are landed through networking. It's that hidden job market. They're found informally. So it's really, really important. And, you network every day. You talk to people every day in your discipline. It's not that difficult. But sometimes we hear the word networking and we think it's a little structured. Oh my goodness, I have to go network. How do I do that? But you do that all the time. When you're networking at MIT, again, I highly recommend the alumni database. It's incredible. And you can click on the advisors. And these advisors have independently volunteered to be an advisor. They've come back to the Institute and said, sign me up. If anyone has a question, I'll be more than happy to talk to them about my company, my industry. So it's really good. And I also believe even if they're not a career advisor, you reached out to an alum, they might respond back, especially if they've been away for a while. The family connection lives for a long time. And other great venues across MIT. There's the Postdoc Association. There's all sorts of community events. There's the academic website. Tons and tons of opportunities across MIT to explore groups and events. And then also the career fair. Great place to go meet some people. But in your class, in your labs, your professors, your advisors. If you did your undergrad at a different university, you have that alumni group too. So you have two institutions you can network with. There's all sorts of events going on campus. There's so much happening on this campus. You really want to take advantage of it. The myinterface.com student, that is the MIT's job bank. On average is at a minimum over 700 jobs in that database. And during the peak season in the fall, there's over 1,000. But these are companies that come to MIT and post their jobs in CareerBridge because they're looking for this brand. And then outside of MIT, there are career fairs that happen within the area. And then community events, there's listservs. You have the grad student listserv. There's all sorts of things happening. And then prior coworkers, advisors, and family. Your family can be part of your network as well. So there's so many places within MIT and external to MIT that there are resources and people where you can find out about different companies or industries. And it's all there. And this is how it's done today. So people are very open to sharing. And if someone came to you in the future and asked you about your old company, you'd be more than happy to share that information with them. It's just a very common way and a very critical part of any job search strategy. And what's also nice about networking is it kind of helps you validate your choice, because the more you talk to people, the more you say, yes, I do want to do that, or maybe I'm not so sure anymore. So the more information you get, it really helps you kind of validate that you're making the right choice, or maybe you're not. So that's a good thing to do. Also, you get to gain visibility in your field. If you're talking to people in positions of authority about their company and the work that you do and things that you might be interested in, and they're interested in that, now, you're getting some visibility in your space. It's also great to do informational interviews. It's a great way to practice interviewing with less risk. You're going to ask questions, they're going to ask you questions, so it's a great way to practice that. Plus, you also build confidence. The more you talk to people, the more you gain exposure, the more you learn about different industries or your targeted interest, the more you're going to you'll get more confident. And we have some do's and don'ts. So before you actually meet somebody, research the company, research the industry, go there with some intelligence, understand the types of jobs that the company has and where there may be some match if this is something of interest to you. Prepare to answer questions about your career interest and your achievements. So again, it's like a mini interview. Bring several questions to ask them. Again, research the compensation structure of your role in the marketplace to make sure that you're targeting a role that would be appropriate for you. You also want to dress appropriately, dress as if it's an interview. Even though it's a little bit more casual, first impressions are very powerful. If these are people you want to talk to that could influence your direction in your career, you want a good first impression. You want to come in as professional as possible. So you always want to bring a resume and have some questions. Don't be late, and send a thank you note afterwards. And probably the number one thing you don't want to do with networking is don't ask them for a job. Ask for information. They know you're looking for a job. If they have opportunities, they'll talk to you about it. You need to know yourself too. So you want to have that tell me about your script ready. 30-second commercial, you call it whatever you want, but you will be asked, so tell me about yourself, or tell me why you're interested in our company, or tell me why you chose this profession. Any of the tell me's, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to align with the information needs of the listener. So now you're talking, so now you're connecting with the things that they feel are important. So the tell me about yourself response, it's roughly a 30 to 60-second response. It really depends on who's sitting across the table. If you're in the same discipline with the same level of experience, sometimes you can dive a little bit deeper and go for 60 seconds. But I wouldn't ramble. This is that first question. You want to be a little bit more succinct and on point. But a great structure is IMA, name your discipline or your profession with interest or expertise in this area. I've worked for, I've had internships, I've done project work, I've worked in labs, and some of my strengths include X, Y, and Z. But by coincidence, the words that you're using are the things that are important to them. Your strategy of responding is aligning with the information needs of the people that you're talking with. That's why it's critical to research the company, research the job, research the industry, and use the terms and language that they use so that you create a relationship with them. What's in the job description is underlined on this page. But I also want to emphasize 99% of this is technical, but you inject a little bit of a team or collaboration or leadership in there. Really important, really important. So think about, as you frame your responses, to inject a little bit of the human element into it. And when you look at job descriptions, look for the behavioral attributes. You'll be amazed at how many are in that job description. Stay active with your network. Reach out to them from time to time. If someone has recommended you to somebody else, reach back to them afterward and said, hey, just want to give you an update. I took your advice and I reached out to Dr. So-and-so and we're meeting for coffee next week. Thank you very much for the referral. Now they feel they helped you, and someday they're going to call you for a referral as well.